To another edition of the Vandy vlog.
I love people's reactions. You got people next to us that were like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
We are in the vehicular device this week once again, as we are joined this week with the Morbid Angel, the Richie Sells, Morbid Angel, Richie, the Morbid Angel Sells. So many names you've gone by.
That's literally two of them. My shoot name and my work name.
You shoot name. Well,
there's so many of them.
In the Fort Dizzle, you are known as Richie the Morbid Angel Sells, right?
I guess some people would call me that. Yeah.
Some people would call you. I mean, that's what the newspaper called you.
Yes, they did.
But you are in the vehicular device. If I can talk English, you're in the vehicular device this week. We're talking about wrestling. We're talking about your wrestling career. We're talking about you. We're talking about all about you. You like that, right?
I do. It's all about me.
Oh man, don't do that. That's gang stuff.
Oh, shut up.
That's gang stuff. I've heard that before. Anyways,
Well,
let's get started with this. Where'd you train?
Well, of course, I trained up at Impact Pro Wrestling in Algona, Iowa. Greatest place on the planet Earth. I will never, ever have an ill word to say about IPW. They are the greatest place on the planet Earth. And you know that, obviously, being an alum yourself.
An alum.
Yeah.
Alum.
I love me some IPW. They train you right. They teach you how to do the moves properly, how to execute them properly. It's not about killing you with bumps like some of them other wrestling schools out there. So just got to give that huge shout out to IPW.
And they teach you the matches. That's the thing. They make you put everything together.
Psychology.
I don't know if T.S. Aggressor knows much about that.
No.
He knows a thing. I mean,
maybe one or two things he knows about psych.
I mean, Reagan's and Henning and guys he may have learned from.
He may or may not have trained with some of the best in the business.
Of course, we're only kidding. He's great. He's phenomenal. He tells me he watches all the vlogs, so I got to put a little TS reference in every vlog I do now. So shout out to you, TS. So you train with IPW for quite some time, then you get your first match. What was your first match like?
My first match, I remember it like it was yesterday, man, and we're coming up on 6 years now, which is crazy to me that it's 6 years ago now. But my first match, Austin Aries was on the card too, so that added like a whole different degree of like nervousness to me, having Austin Aries on the card. And this was before he had made his big name, and now obviously he's in developmental with NXT. This was before he was even in TNA. He was still around the indie circuits doing Ring of Honor, things of that nature. But I knew him. I was a big fan, so it added so much pressure to me. But I was in there with Sparrow, who I think at the time was in the business for about 2 years, maybe 3. I'm really not sure on the number of years he's been in it, but he was very good to me. He walked me through it step by step. He got me over, and ultimately I got the pinfall. I was brought in actually as an angle right after James Jeffries turned heel and took the Extreme title from Sparrow. James Jeffries, kayfabe, brought me in to dispatch a Sparrow, and I beat Sparrow in my first match.
As soon as you said step by step, I wanted to say day by day. Yeah, if people saw the smile on my face, that's pretty much why I was doing it. You like that? You like that stuff, don't you?
You know I do.
Man, that's the thing. Like your character and who you are outside, like you obviously you mesh it together pretty well for the Morbid Angel, but like outside, man, obviously you ain't got those white eyes, you ain't got all, or maybe you do. No,
glasses,
not white eyes,
nope.
Not white eyes. But like, how do you go from, the Morbid Angel, you got this deep, dark character, and you're a monster, to the now you're Richie Sells. How do you get down to, how do you go from there to Richie Sells, and what's kind of the difference between the two?
Well, you bring up a good question, actually. Nobody's really actually ever asked me it in that wordage before, but to me, Richie Sells and Morbid Angel, while they are the same people, shut up phone, are completely separate entities. For me, Morbid Angel is a product of all the hatred that I've ever felt in my entire life, growing up, going through school, you got them popular kids that are always putting people down and stuff, and I was on the receiving end of that a lot, but I was not one of those kids to take it laying down. I got into a lot of fights growing up. I was suspended from school a lot. But Morbid Angel is basically like this dark presence of everything I used to feel or, have ever felt in the outside world, because in the outside world you have to look a certain way, you have to act a certain way, and that's just the way it is. I mean, that's society. Can't really change that, the fact that you gotta look a certain way to be taken seriously in anything. So I mean, for me, how do I, it's just, as soon as I exit that curtain, I am that completely different person. I am everything I hate in life. And when I step back through the curtain, I'm back to being me. And what's great about pro wrestling, and it has saved my life, is it gives me that outlet to where I can do that, to where I can express all that anger and put it someplace instead of, going out and doing drugs, getting drunk, and starting fights. So that's it. I turned it on when I hit that curtain, and I turn it off, and it's such a cathartic thing for me. I love it.
And now you're working a lot up in Minnesota and Wisconsin right now. You're working with RCCW as well as RWA. What's going on up there for you and your character right now?
Well, we are in some transitional periods right now up there. RCCW, I was going to do a little something with them. I don't really know how much they would let me divulge, so I'm not going to get into a whole lot of like what their plans for me were. I just know that a lot of the plans that they've had for me in the past have all fell through due to other people pulling out and stuff. So we're trying to find my niche up there, but they're great people up there too. Reminds me a lot of the IPW locker room. That's why I like it so much. And then RWA, I was United States champion up until just last week, actually. Dropped the United States title to Man Pretty Greg Hurts.
Man Pretty Greg Hurts. Greg is an awesome guy.
He is, actually. And obviously our match being, he's an older guy and we're both bigger guys. It's not like we were putting on a technical masterpiece or anything, but we popped the crowd with what we had, and that's really what it's all about, is the entertainment factor. He took me into the bathroom again. I came out with toilet paper in my mouth this time, and I got punched in the face by a little kid. Like, he did this spot where he was holding my arms back, and we were going to have Isaac's daughters chop me, but they just all powdered away for some reason. And I don't know why, but all of a sudden I turn, he's turning me towards this little kid, and this little kid just rears back as far as he can and just boom, right in my mouth. And Greg's just like, oh crap. So his dad, the kid's dad, found me immediately after the show, apologized, and asked me if I was okay, which I am. I could take a punch to the face from a 8-year-old kid. I'm okay. But working with Greg is very easy and very fun. So he deserves, his moment in the spotlight, being United States champion. With what they have planned for him going forward, I think it's going to make a lot of sense.
So you got a lot of things going on up in Wisconsin, Minnesota. Right now, what we'll do before we get out of here for this week's edition of the Vandy Vlog, let's play some rapid fire. I'll ask you a few questions. You just give me an answer. What do you think?
Got it.
So we'll start with this. All right, favorite wrestler right now?
Active. Kevin Owens.
Favorite wrestler of all time?
Shawn Michaels.
Favorite matchup of all time?
Oh, that's hard, but I'm going to have to go with Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart, WrestleMania, Iron Man match.
Favorite wrestling moment for yourself?
For myself, it would have to be beating Matty Starr and Justin Deason on the same night to win my very first championship ever, the Extreme title. Yeah.
Biggest fear in wrestling?
Obviously, injuries happen all the time. Being injured is a fear, but that's about it.
Biggest pet peeve in wrestling?
okay, and I say this a lot, it's when people are getting beat down and they adjust their wardrobe. Nothing screams fake to me faster than when somebody takes a huge move and they're like, oh, sell, elbow pad, pull up. I hate that.
And then my final question, what's the one thing you haven't done yet that you want to do in wrestling?
I want to return to IPW. I know that sounds like I'm pandering, but I do want to come back to there eventually if that's possible. Also, another thing I'd like to do is hold a world title in some promotion that I'm working for. It doesn't matter what promotion.
And there you have it, folks. That's this week's Vandy vlog. He is the Morbid Angel. You got some social media websites people can go to?
Yes, I am on Facebook, Morbid Angel, and on Twitter, @MorbidWrestler.
And you can find our videos at the Stud Club page on Facebook each and every single week. Yep, Stud Club, baby. Stud Club. You can join us once again as we'll have another Vandy vlog for next week. I'm Mike Vandy. He is the Morbid Angel. Richie says you want to hit the boom button right there?
Boom.